Josh, the producer, with nothing to lose. McKnight Tonight. McKnight Tonight. McKnight Tonight. Here comes McKnight Tonight.
Welcome to McKnight Tonight. Here's Rob McKnight.
Hello and welcome to McKnight Tonight. Hang on, I have to put down my beer bottle. It's Wino Wednesday because we've got no live show tomorrow. This is the last live show of the week, so it's Wino Wednesday. Quick, go and get a drink. I'll wait. Amanda hates it when I drink on air. It is one of her pet peeves, and I say one of them. It is just one of those things. She's like, why do you have to stop and sip on air? Nobody wants to see it. Well, they actually pay me sometimes through the YouTube link at youtube.com /@McKnight Tonight. There it is. You can always pay me to have a sip. I'll take a moment, have a sip just for you. There you go, Amanda. And if you don't want to do that, you can just go and subscribe. Go to youtube.com /@McKnight and hit that bell because that will help you know when you'll get notifications of when we're doing stuff. And especially as we head towards April 1st, because that is going to be our 100th episode. This is episode 99. We have a best of show tomorrow and all next week. Then again on Monday. It's a brand new episode of Media McKnight on Tuesday. And then Wednesday, the 1st of April, it is the 100th edition of McKnight Tonight. And to celebrate, I am going to do a 24-hour live stream. I will be at the desk for 24 hours and we will have interviews. We will have, what else am I going to do? Well, actually, I better plan something because it's going to be a long 24 hours otherwise. But I'm thinking there might be a way we can get viewers on to have a chat. We're organising some interviews overnight. But yes, from 9 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time until 9 p.m. again. Oh, do we do another episode on Thursday night? Like, because that would be a 25-hour broadcast if I did that.
No.
We should have a production meeting occasionally and sort these things out.
And not on air.
Yeah. All right. Look, I'll tell you about tonight's show because it's a big one. We're not leaving empty-handed as we get ready for our little break. Kyle Sandilands has been sacked by ARN and he's not going quietly. We have the full statements and the exclusive interview. Then the legal battle begins. Employment lawyer Michael Byrnes from Swaab is back to tell us what happens next and whether ARN has a leg to stand on. Victorian opposition leader Jess Wilson is breaking the internet and giving Labor a very bad headache. But is it in good taste? President Trump is furious with NATO for refusing to join his war against Iran. And in Rob's rant, the question I'm sick of websites asking. Seriously, I'm really over it. All right, let's get into our hot topics. It was long expected, but now it's official. ARN has sacked Kyle Sandilands. The announcement was expected yesterday afternoon, but the company held off informing Sandilands until midnight. That's according to reports. And now that the formalities have been taken care of, the war is just beginning. ARN issued a short statement to the ASX this morning, informing the market of the latest development. The statement reads, ARN Media Limited advises that it has issued a notice of termination of contract to Mr. Kyle Sandilands and Quasar Media Services Party Limited. As a result, the Kyle and Jackie O show will no longer be presented. This decision follows the company's ASX announcement on 3 March 2026, which outlined that ARN had provided written notice to Mr. Sandilands and Quasar Media, stating that it considered Mr. Sandilands' behaviour during the broadcast of 20 February 2026 to constitute serious misconduct and a breach of ARN services agreement with Quasar Media, under which Mr. Sandilands presents the Kyle and Jackie O show. As noted in the 3 March 2026 announcement, Mr. Sandilands was given 14 days to remedy the breach. Experts, pundits, lawyers, even Kyle himself, and I don't understand how Kyle could actually remedy the situation. In fact, Kyle said as much in the statement released this morning. He released that statement before ARN's announcement came through. And it's worth going through the entire statement because Kyle doesn't hold back. ARN just announced that they've terminated my contract. I don't accept it. My lawyers told them last week this would be invalid. And guess what? It is. Let me tell you what actually happened here. Jackie and I had a blue on air. That's it. The kind of thing we've done 100 times in 25 years. And ARN took the situation and decided to try and burn the place down. They sacked Jackie. They suspended me. They wouldn't even let me pick up the phone to call her or anyone else on the show. Then, and this is the bit that gets me, once they'd made it impossible for the show to go on, they turn around and say, "You didn't fix it, you're fired." I said sorry to Jackie the night of our blow-up. And when I said I was sorry to Jackie, I meant it. I still mean it. But it doesn't mean I will stand by while I am separated from the people who've listened to me every morning for 25 years. Before they suspended me, ARN said, "Let us handle it." And I listened. In the 2 weeks since, I've done everything ARN asked. I said, "Put me back on air. I'll work with Jackie. I'll work with someone else. Whatever you need." Every single time? No. They weren't interested. They didn't want to fix this. They thought they saw a chance to get out of a contract they signed with me a year ago, and they ran with it. ARN knew exactly what they were getting when they signed my deal. They've worked with me for over a decade. They knew how I work. They knew the show, and they were happy to pay for it because I delivered. #1 ratings, year after year, hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue for their business. I held up my end. I always have. So, you tell me, why would ARN prefer to breach a contract and pay the legal consequences rather than honour the contract and pay me to do what I do best? That's the bit that doesn't make sense. I've got a contract until 2034. I've got rights under that contract. And ARN hasn't honoured the contract. So, it's over to my lawyers. You know what I love about that statement? That is Kyle. Wasn't written by a PR spinner, wasn't written by a lawyer. I'm sure it went through the lawyers, but that is him wanting to have his say. And he also had his say last night while I was live on air with Media McKnight. Before ARN had made Kyle's sacking official, well, I decided to be a bit cheeky and I decided to call up Bruno Bechet, Kyle's manager. And during the call, Kyle jumped on for an exclusive chat. Now, he hasn't given any interviews during this saga, so I was genuinely surprised when he decided to speak. This is what happened.
Hi, the person you have called is not available. Please.
I'm going to try again. Maybe right now an agreement is taking place.
Hey, mate.
Bruno, you are live on Media McKnight, so just so you are warned, how are you?
Oh, geez. Yeah, very, very Kyle and Jackie O show of you.
That was my inspiration, my friend. That was my inspiration.
Yeah. No, I guess after years of doing it to people, it's karma that it should be done to me.
That's right. So here's the thing. I've just done a refresh on the ARN media website to their ASX announcements. There is nothing there. What is the latest you can tell me about what is going on between Kyle and ARN?
Oh, look, you're my mate. As much as I'd love to tell you everything, you know that I'm the last person in the world that lawyers would trust with freely talking about what's happening at the moment.
But there was an expectation that ARN would have made their decision by now and released a statement.
Yeah, look, I don't know. All that I can tell you is, Kyle just finished Australian Idol for the night. He's happy. It's all good.
Hey, Rob, it's Kyle here, mate. How did you watch the show?
I didn't, Kyle. I'm in Queensland an hour behind and I'm doing a little...
Oh, okay. You don't have a slingshot box? I thought you'd have a slingshot.
I'll have to connect into yours. Kyle, how are you feeling? This has been horrible for you, I can imagine. One moment you're doing the show and next your world has fallen apart.
Oh, no. My world has fallen apart. I've still got a contract. That hasn't changed. And until they advise me of such, I'm still more than happy to show up there tomorrow to do the radio show. Although we're not sure that that's going to happen since we haven't heard anything yet. So, but hopefully I'll hear by midnight, and then we'll know where we all stand. But I want to get back to work. The listeners want me to get back there. I've had many clients call me to say that they want me back on there.
Yeah.
So we'll just have to see whether they're all singing from the same hymn book or whether, you know, they're. I'm willing to execute the contract as signed, as promised. Same chairman signed it. Same chairman wants to take it away. So we'll see what happens.
Now, Rob, before I get my client into too much trouble, I'm going to wish you a lovely evening. Shout out to all your viewers. I hope they're well. And
by the way, I love the look of your set. And when we go live again with whatever, I might steal a little bit of that. It's a good looking set.
Mate, I need a job. Get me in to fix it all up for you. Kyle, just one question before you go. And I get it, Bruno. I know you can't say too much. Are you okay? Because it has been a rough couple of weeks.
Mate, even my best mate, John Ibrahim, called me today and said, how are you? I said, mate, I'm fine. And he said, now, how's your mental health? And I started laughing. And I said, my mental health is fine. I said, like, you know, I've been through tougher things. It is, mate. It is. Even my wife said to me, you're remarkable the way you're handling this. And I said, look, laying down in the corner and crying is not the way I've had way worse things than this to handle. I was a homeless teenager. Things are much tougher than I've dealt with tougher things. I just decompartmentalized it. And like, as I said, I'm willing to do the show if they're willing to put me on, and time will tell. Might be a different conversation in the morning, but anyway, if that's the case, I'll talk to you in the morning.
All right, thank you. Well, we look forward to seeing Carl on the radio tomorrow. Bruno, thank you so much for taking the call.
No, I see. All right,
thanks,
take care.
guys. Bye-bye. Good on you.
Bye.
Well, that was unexpected. You never know what happens when you try different things. And I need to be clear, it's not the same jacket. I just looked, it's very similar. I do have different shades of blue, just so you know. That was the jacket last night, a bit more of an electric blue. Should I wear the blue jacket or the blue jacket? That's another thing that peeves you off, Amanda. Too many blue jackets.
Always come home with something new that's blue.
I think this is really sad. Kyle and Jackie O went to ARN. They created the KISS brand. It was built around them. They've had enormous success. Look, ARN, in defence of them, were backed into a corner. Southern Cross Austereo, Today FM, were knocking at the door. They wanted Kyle and Jackie O back because their ratings in Sydney have never recovered from when they told Kyle and Jackie O they were of no more use, or they had 2 years left to go, is what they were told. And so the pressure was on. And if we had been in this scenario, watching it play out, and Southern Cross Austereo got Kyle and Jackie O back to Today FM, what would the media headlines have been? It would have been, how could ARN let them go? That's what it would have been. It would have been, how could ARN let them go? Throw whatever cash you can at them. Things changed very quickly. When they moved into Melbourne, the mad effing witches really started their campaign. And I'm sure they're taking a lot of credit here. And you know what? Maybe some of that's valid because there have been advertisers pulling out of the Kyle and Jackie O show. Having said that, there's still a lot of revenue being made by them. But of course, the justification for paying those extraordinary contracts has diminished because the Melbourne experiment didn't work. And then from Melbourne, it was meant to become a national show. And that hasn't played out. So ARN found itself with a contract that wasn't delivering value for money, no matter how talented Kyle and Jackie O are. But I will say this, a contract is a contract. So I think this has to play out in court. It's going to be interesting unless there's something Kyle will accept. Kyle's got his court case. Jackie's got hers. And what will be interesting is that whatever Kyle does he go to Spotify? Does he create his own business? Does he go to a rival outlet? Would he ever work with Jackie again? Now, by all reports, those two have kissed and made up, for want of a better term. But would you ever have that same level of trust with your presenter, with your co-host, that you had before, after this all was an effect of the wheel she put in motion? Would you ever be sure that she wouldn't turn around and say, I can't work with you anymore? Now, he showed he was willing to work with her, but he's also said in his statement he's willing to work with anyone else as well. It's going to be fascinating to watch.
Here comes
Look, before we move on, I'm keen to get some more insights into the legalities here now that we have the official statements from both Kyle Sandilands and ARN. So let's bring back employment lawyer Michael Byrnes from Swaab, who we spoke to last week. Michael, welcome back to McKnight Tonight.
Thanks, Rob. Good to be back.
Well, I tell you what, you've certainly been a busy boy. I think I've seen and heard you on just about every media podcast talking about the Carl and Jackie O situation.
I have been very, very busy. That's true. Yes.
But we know McKnight Tonight's your favourite.
Well, it's like having children, Rob. You're not meant to have favourites. But between us,
Such a lawyer. Couldn't commit. All right, let's get into it, because after reading the statements today, what do you think is likely to happen next?
Well, they were fighting words from Kyle. Fighting words from Kyle, as expected. I think another masterful statement, really, a very judicious, clever mix of the personal and the legal. So I thought that was a very good statement. ARN's statement is as expected, a clinical, technical statement, not
very
as part
short.
of a PR, exactly, not as part of a PR battle, but for ARN to comply with its obligations of continuous disclosure under the ASX listing rules. So it's a market statement, whereas Kyle's statement, true to form and understandably, was a hearts and minds statement and a legal statement, or a statement of legal intent. Statement of legal intent where he's saying, I'm going to fight this. I'm fighting this. It's going to court. And a hearts and minds battle or statement by appealing to his listeners and supporters and saying this is a corporate decision to your detriment. I want to be on radio. I want to entertain you. I've been stopped and thwarted from doing that. And you've had no say in it. I've had no real say in it. And unfortunately now it's with the lawyers. It's not my doing. It's ARN's fault.
Now, we know this is going to go all the way. ARN might have been hoping for a settlement at a reduced rate. That's not happening. So while Kyle is challenging this in court, can he get other work while this is all happening?
Absolutely. Absolutely. He could get work today, subject to any non-compete obligations in his contract, his services agreement. And I'd imagine that there are some. So it's probably fanciful to think that Kyle's going to turn up, on 2GB tomorrow or something like that. But, as a broadcaster, but subject to any post-contract restraints, he is free now to undertake other broadcasting or indeed podcasting activities if he wants to do that. Indeed, not only is he free to do it, but on one view, without getting too deeply into the legal technicalities around this, he's obliged to do it. There's a principle called mitigation of damages, which is why ultimately, even if he's entirely successful, he might not receive $88 million.
This is what I wanted to ask you about.
Yeah.
So I don't get this, right?
Yeah.
ARN have terminated a contract. There's two parts to this. One, I read somewhere that if he does get other work, that shows that he's accepted the termination. So you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. But
no, that's not right. No, that's not right.
Good. Okay, so a person has to earn a living.
That's not right.
Okay, cool. Secondly, when it comes to the payout for ARN, if he does go and get other work, and let's say it's $1 million a year instead of the 10 million, right? Let's just work on that assumption.
Yeah.
Right? Is it correct, the way I understand it, and you mentioned mitigating, that ARN would only be up for the missing 9 million from what he's earning as opposed to what they were paying if they were ordered to do the full payout?
Yes. So if he made reasonable attempts, so he needs to make reasonable attempts to mitigate his loss. Otherwise, there'll be some estimate of what that should have been. And so if he, for instance, now gets another job at $1 million a year instead of $10 million a year, that leaves a $9 million gap. And so over the period of the close to 9 years, that might be somewhere between $75 and $80 million. If he earns $5 million a year, then it may well be that the payout would be $45 million a year. But it's if he earns money during the 8.5 years, then that is something that will come off what ARN need to pay him by way of damages.
So there's no loss for ARN here, because if he wants to get back out there and work, and you're saying he has an obligation to, then they
Well,
will
he
never
doesn't
be
have
up for
an
that
obligation to
full
work as
88
such.
million.
He doesn't have an obligation to work as such, but if he doesn't, then his damages might be reduced by what it is said he could have earned by way of mitigation.
I
but
know
it's
you
of
don't
course
make
not-
the law, but that seems so stupid to me that one company can, if it's found in a court of law to have done the wrong thing, but they're not liable for the full
Well,
payout if he's had other work.
true. No, that makes sense, and there's some justice to what you're saying, some equity or fairness to what you're saying. But the idea is, he's not meant. He'd be sort of enriched doubly if he was both able to earn money and receive the full payment that he would have received had he
So?
worked for ARN for the close to 9 years. The eight and three
And what
quarter
would
years.
be the issue with that when a company has, if we accept, let's just, for the sake of argument, accept the ARN has done the wrong thing, and that's found in a court of law. We're not saying
Yeah,
that
if it's
has
done in-
happened. We're just
No, no,
saying
of course.
if.
It is- yes,
What is
that's
wrong
right.
if they get if someone, an employee, gets a double payout?
It's just the way it works, that it would be seen as being an unfair enrichment, or that he would be double dipping in effect by taking both the remuneration that he would have otherwise, the remuneration that he earns over the remainder of the 10-year period, and what he would have earned with ARN. Because if you think about it, Rob, if he was going to comply with his obligations under the ARN contract, he would have received the $88 million. He wouldn't have had an opportunity to work for another radio network and earn another 10 million or 20 million in that period on top of that. So that's the reasoning. Look, there might also be, I haven't seen the contract, there's something called a liquidated damages clause that could kick in and could give him the full amount. But generally speaking, in these sorts of matters, there's an obligation for the innocent party to mitigate their loss, which would involve Kyle seeking other work, and then that amount that he earns during that period, or as estimated during that period, would likely reduce the damages amount.
So ultimately, there's no bad outcome here for ARN, because one way or another, they reduce the amount they were going to end up paying. So instead of 100 million to Carl over 10 years, whatever happens, that amount is likely to be reduced, because they will never have to do the full payout in a court of law.
That's right, Rob. Although, of course, they're not getting the benefit of Kyle for that 10 years.
Sure.
So they're not getting his services and the revenue that brings, and the
But
listeners
they've made a
that-
decision they want to get out of that.
Well, it seems so. And of course, that contract was incredibly lucrative. $10 million a year, 10 years for both Kyle and Jackie O. So query whether Kyle, and I mean this with no disrespect to Kyle, who's a great survivor in the business and has managed to achieve all sorts of things, whatever you might think of his style of broadcasting. He's been incredibly, phenomenally successful. But query whether Kyle will easily be able to replicate that sort of income, $10 million a year. You know, he might.
The answer is no, because no one's going to do that deal again. It was the right time. He was in the right place at the right time. He had a competing offer.
And I think he said that himself. I think he acknowledged that recently, how lucky he was. It was serendipity, right time, right place, right environment. So ARN will be on the hook. If they are found to have wrongly terminated the contract, then they will be on the hook for likely a very substantial amount of damages. So let's assume that Kyle earns $50 million during the period. That still leaves ARN on the hook for 30 or 35 million. Although some of these things are going to be estimates, because the contract would have run for 10 years. And so the court case won't take 10 years. There'll need to be some estimate of mitigation. What he might
that's
earn
interesting. So if he gets a $1 million a year job now, or starts his own streaming business, and the income's low to begin with, so he's earning, I don't know, let's say $1 million a year at the moment.
Yeah.
So estimates are based on that. But he could then that could become successful, and he could be making $10 million a year through that.
But he needs to make reasonable efforts in relation to mitigation. You can't just Kyle can't go down to the local community radio station and say, here I am, Carl, Kyle Sandilands, I'm ready to do a show for free, and damn ARN, because I'm not going to earn any money, and they'll be on the hook for a grerer amount.
So he can't just go and get a job at Woolies.
He can't get a job at Woolies, or I think he said he was going to get a job at Lowe's as well last night on Australian Idol, where he looked resplendent in what looked, certainly didn't look like a Lowe's suit with respect. It looked like a very resplendent suit, but he made the joke.
Sure, it's worth a lot more.
I would imagine so. Probably not a Lowe's or Kelly Country type suit, but in any event, looked resplendent. But yeah, he made that joke, and no, the court would argue, or rather be argued in court, that Kyle needs to make reasonable efforts to secure alternative work. Otherwise, it'd be expert evidence led about what Kyle could earn if he made those reasonable efforts to secure alternative work and an alternative source of income, which could include broadcasting, conventional broadcasting. There might even be expert evidence led about podcasting and what he might be able to earn in the podcasting space. I think whatever evidence is led, whatever is ultimately determined, the $10 million a year is unlikely to be a figure that is replicated. From what I understand, it's many multiples of what the next person would earn in the media in the current environment in Australia.
Yeah, I mean, he's only earning just a little bit more than me, but, I wish. Quickly, before I let you go, take a look into your crystal ball. How does this end?
I think it's going to be very difficult to settle or resolve, Rob. I mean, the vast bulk of workplace relations matters settle before they go to court for a range of reasons, and for good reasons: commercial, reputational, management time, etc. And so people can get on with their lives. So there are very strong imperatives to settle matters. The problem here are the amounts of money involved in both Kyle's contract, and of course we shouldn't forget Jackie O either, who
But
herself
that is a separate case.
It's a separate case, and just to be clear, they are going to be separate cases. There might be obviously some overlapping factual matters, but it's not going to be a case of Kyle and Jackie O reunited against ARN. They are going to be separate court cases, but it's going to be very difficult to settle these cases because a settlement would likely involve substantial sums, potentially tens of millions of dollars, a compromise or a settlement of the claim. And if you look at, I'm not a financial expert, and I'm not purporting to offer business or financial analysis, but if you look at ARN's market capitalization, it's at around $100 million. We're not talking about a Netflix, who might take on Meghan Markle and then say, look, that didn't work out, we'll just write off the $100 million to bad experience. You're talking about amounts of money that are the equivalent of the entire market capitalization of the company. And so even with the best will in the world, one would think, and again, I'm not a financial expert or don't fully appreciate the financial engineering aspects of this, but one would think it would be difficult for ARN, unless it saddled itself with some great debt or raised some further equity or did something, to pay out Kyle and Jackie O, pay them amounts that would successfully compromise the proceedings. Because lawyers are expensive, and these are going to be multi-million-dollar lawsuits in terms of the legal costs. But it is going to be a case where the actual amount of money involved will dwarf the legal costs. So it'll be worth the fight. And it's going to be, I suspect, a very difficult case to compromise. And can I be a little bit selfish?
Please.
A little bit selfish. While I always urge settlements and resolution of lawsuits, in particular those involving workplace relations, and urge them for my clients all the time, I really do want to see this in court. It'd be fascinating, really fascinating. I wanted to see the Israel-Folau matter in court. It didn't get there. It's settled. But, that was a settlement which wouldn't have been anything like this in terms of amount of money. The Latouth matter was fascinating in court. That was really interesting to see. And that was at the other end of the spectrum, because the Antoinette Latouth matter, and this is with no disrespect to Ms. Latouf or anyone else involved in her matter. But with Kyle and Jackie O, you're dealing with a 10-year, $10 million a year contract each.
Another scale.
Antoinette Latouf was a 5-day casual contract, which is not to in any way detract from the importance of the matter for her, or the importance of the matter more generally, but just in financial terms. Poles apart. So, look, from a very selfish perspective, I do want to see, I'd be very interested to see this matter unfold in court. But of course, it often makes sense, almost always makes sense, for there to be a settlement or a compromise if there can be. But given the amount of money involved, Rob, I don't know that ARN necessarily has the readies, the money, to write some big checks to compromise or settle the matters.
No, that's going to be the fascinating thing. And I'll tell you what, when this, or if this ends up in court, I'll be right next to you. We'll be doing special episodes of McKnight Tonight after each court session.
It might take some years, actually. It's not a matter that's necessarily going to be on this year. Even proceedings don't necessarily need to be brought this year. I suspect,
Can he get it expedited?
I don't think there's any real basis to get it expedited because you're dealing with a claim for damages.
And he's not facing financial hardship.
Alone, that's right. So I think it would be difficult for either Kyle or Jackie O, and I don't know their financial, statuses, etc., except they're obviously two well-heeled individuals. But I doubt there would be any basis for seeking expedition of the matter. Ultimately, I think the courts would say, and courts are keen to deal with matters on an expeditious basis. They don't like delay. There's case management processes now to try and expedite the running of matters. But it could conceivably not be this year. It could be next year. And it depends too on when proceedings are commenced. The usual rule of thumb, and I suspect that'll be the case here, is that the plaintiffs or the applicants in matters want them heard as soon as possible. The respondents or plaintiffs in matters don't mind a delay. And I wonder if in this instance, strategically, ARN would say to themselves, okay, we've pulled the trigger. We don't have to make any further payments to Kyle and Jackie O. And they've now had their source of income or primary source of income cut off. And we're in the box seat. And let's just sit back and see what happens. But for the moment, at least, we are relieved of paying out this $200,000 a week each to these people. And if there's pain, if we lose the case in a couple of years' time, that's pain down the road.
And it could be a different management team by then. Michael Byrnes from Swaab Lawyers, love your insights. Thanks for joining us again on McKnight Tonight. Really appreciate it, mate.
Great, Rob. Thanks for the invitation as always.
Have you checked out the latest range of McKnight Tonight merch? You could look sexy in a t-shirt or even one of these caps. Or you could have a Rob's Rant with me every day by getting your own mug. But maybe you're the kind of person who prefers a Backend quickie. Well, you can get them all and more at McKnightTonight.myshopify.com. That's McKnightTonight.myshopify.com. Get some merch, help us out, and you'll look good doing it.
Here comes McKnight Tonight.
Hilarious. You can't actually see the coat sitting there. I could leave it there. I'll put it on the ground. That's good for a coat. It's on my bag. Seriously, some days you should see the view that I look at because every day the pile around the set gets bigger and bigger. You need something ironed? I can just pop over there and iron some clothes for you. Not bloody likely. All right, it's time for a rant. And tonight, websites and Google. Have you noticed this new trend where you go to a website and it says, do you want to log in with Google? No, I don't. Google has enough of my information. I don't need to give it more. But more importantly, those websites just want my information. It's all about data gathering. But they're like, log in with Google and you can make us one of your favorite websites. No, when I want your website, I'll go to your website. But it's news websites doing it, especially the News Corp websites. But it's all manner of things. I literally sometimes just I Google something, I go to a website, and I just want to peruse the website. I want to find the information I'm after. But no, I get all these notifications for logging in with Google. I don't want to. Nick off. I'm over it. I don't want to do it. You've got getting your greedy little hands on my data, you're not. That's really all I've got to say on that one, Amanda. It's not a long rant. It was like a back-end quickie rant. Roll the sting. Sorry. All right, coming up in this edition of McKnight Tonight, we are going to look at the Victorian opposition leader. She's in her cozies and she's making a scene because she is doing videos that no politician usually does. And I think these are a cracker. I think what she is doing with her social media team is great, but it's not going down well with the establishment. I'll take you through that shortly. And then we'll talk Donald Trump. He's not happy with NATO, but does NATO have any reason to be loyal to him after all the insults he's thrown at different countries, NATO-aligned countries? I'll look at that one too. I reckon we'll fit in a back-end quickie before we wrap up our live shows for the week. But first of all, there'll be feedback from you as well. I look for, something just caught my eye. I'll look at that in a moment. First of all, though, let's get to our random live shot of the day.
It's the random live shot of the day. Where are you going today? You never know where you'll end up with the random live shot of the day.
Yes, it is indeed time for our random live shot of the day. Today, we're taking you to Key West in Florida, Melrose Square to be precise. This is a live harbour webcam, and if you're lucky, well, you are. You can see a cruise ship just there. They come in and out right at that port. Key West is famous for its sunset celebrations at Mallory Square, street performers, tourists, and that perfect golden hour light. Now, as you can see there, it is 6:36 in the morning, and so the sun hasn't come up. Their sunrise must be a little bit later than what we often get here in Australia, but they often do get the perfect golden hour light over the Gulf of Mexico. I think Amanda just gave me a pity laugh. I've always said you can fake a lot of things, but not your laughter. All right, let's have a look at the feedback coming through to McKnight Tonight. Clintos is the best. Says, yes, that is me in the profile pic, wearing my bright pink McKnight Tonight t-shirt, drinking a 1 litre bottle of wine. It has been a rough week. Well, I've got to say, you're looking very fetching in the traditional McKnight Tonight t-shirt and the traditional McKnight Tonight pose, having a wine bottle pressed to your lips. Okay, we've got this one from Beck. I want you to have a snack on Wednesday. Oh, we're going to have a day for everything. Well, that's an idea. Adam says, I want to see a social media trend of us Kyle and Jackie O fans that are pissed at ARN filming themselves deleting Kiss from their presets with the hashtag #KissMyAss. Okay, that's a good idea. We've got this one from Andy. Buy me a wine. Oh, instead of the buy me a coffee promo, buy me a wine. You can buy me a wine. I like that. I like it a lot. Onyo Crazy says, Amanda is right, and viewers providing Rob with negative reinforcement. This was to do with the fact you don't like me drinking on air. And so Onyo Crazy is agreeing with you. But hey, look at this. Clintos is the bestos says a $5 from Clintos is the bestos. We always sip with you, Rob. Well, Clintos, this sip is for you. Yummo. Cameron says 24 hours? Damn, Rob, that's long. Yes. For the 100th episode on the 1st of April, we are going to do a 24-hour live stream. I will be chained to this desk. We'll do the first hour as normal, and then Amanda and Jasmine are going to bed, and I'm just going to sit here and press the buttons by myself, and I'm going to do a show. I'll look at the news websites coming through, and I'll give my open and honest take. I'll have some interviews. Amanda is literally shaking her head. She thinks it's madness. She's not supportive of this at all, are you, Dale? Beck says, I want to hear Jackie's perspectives to run this, and I can understand why they have fired Kyle, but I honestly believe that there is a lot more to Kyle than what makes the I'm. Okay, Beck. We've got this one from Beck again. We've had that one. Let's go over the page. Thank you very much, team. Matt, he can't rehire Jackie O, can he? Well, no one can. Their contracts are terminated. It's done. It's over. So there's, unless everyone wants to agree to renegotiate the contracts. Andy says ARN will find it hard to win this unless Jackie totally betrays him. The thing is we're seeing, Andy, is that ARN's going to end up paying less money, and this is what that is all about. Okay, we've got this one from Own You're Crazy. I feel for the team who put the Kyle and Jackie O show together. I imagine their future with ARN is bleak. Yes, I think that is something we haven't talked enough about, the staff members of the Kyle and Jackie O show. Matt says, may as well milk it, Rob. You did something media parked outside his house haven't done. Thank you, Matt. It was a little cheeky, but we got there. Matthew says, for me, the fact that Kyle is married was yesterday's biggest shock. Okay. Adam says, you were a pawn last night, Rob. Another piece of evidence to say that Kyle was committed to his contract until the end. Well, Adam, that would assume there was forethought in this. If he was using me as a pawn, he was doing it on the run because you watched me place the call to Bruno. So, well, if he did, good thinking, but he could have done that anywhere. A Current Affair would have had him. Any outlet would have taken the opportunity to talk to Kyle. So, Andy says, that was amazing last night, Rob. A world exclusive interview. Thank you, Andy. Got this one from Mr. Phil Gilbert. When you go to Sydney, Rob, go out and buy another blue jacket, but different shade. Treat yourself. I knew you'd like that one, Amanda. Got this one from Beck. You don't pay someone what you can't afford. This is what it feels like. It feels like American money, not Australian money. Yes, you should only be doing contracts you can afford to do, although a lot has happened in the advertising space on traditional media. So, yeah, as I said, I think there are some reasons why ARN got themselves into this position, but a contract is a contract in my view. We've got this one over the page. Matthew, just get a green screen jacket and change the colour each day.
That's a great idea.
Would solve a lot of issues. We've got this one from Own You're Crazy. Controversial view. Is Rob expecting a cut of Kyle's payout for being his hype man and PR representative? Someone is clearly a fan. I think that's meant to say fan. Oh, no, a stan, as in, I think that's in reference to Eminem and the stands, yeah. You know, Own You're Crazy. You've been following me for a long time. Have you ever known me not to say what I think? So if I'm supportive of someone, I think you can be pretty well rest assured that is my stance and my view. I really just do say what I think. It gets me into a lot of trouble sometimes. I piss a lot of people off, but it's who I am. Johnny Boy says, Rob, your best bit of advice right here. Start your show earlier. You are a great alternate to current free-to-air viewing and actually something I want to watch, but the show is forgotten. Start early. All right, Johnny Boy. So, when daylight saving finishes, I'm going to assume you're not in Queensland. We are currently doing the show at 8 p.m. Queensland time, which is 9 p.m. in Sydney and Melbourne and the southern states, 6 p.m. in WA. We are going to stick to the 8 p.m. time slot, so you will get it an hour earlier. I had avoided being up against the reality shows because they're the biggest thing on TV. Would 7:30 work, man? Okay, well, let me know.
Done.
Would 7:30 work better for everyone rather than 8 o'clock when daylight saving finishes? I might put up a poll or something, but let me know in the comments section. Justine says, "Oh, McKnight Tonight commentating on the court case would be awesome." You better believe it, Justine. Good to have you there on Facebook. And he said, "I've tried to de-Google my life, but my online life is so much harder now." Yes, indeed. Beck says, "Yes, I have noticed this trend. This is about them all wanting you to log in with Google. But I thought you were going to talk about the frustrating cookies." Yeah. Cookies can be helpful at times too. All right, we've got this one from Adam. It just hit me. I discovered Rob through TV Black Box, which I discovered from hearing featured on the Kyle and Jackie O show. It's the circle of life. I heard Amanda's ears then. All right, that is our last bit of feedback. But I tell you what, I know it's getting late. We'll do a quick couple of topics and then get a little bit more feedback right after a back-end quickie. You are watching McKnight Tonight.
McKnight Tonight. McKnight Tonight. McKnight Tonight. Here comes McKnight Tonight.
Victorian opposition leader Jess Wilson is giving Labor a masterclass in modern politics, and some in the Allen government are quietly worried. Wilson posted a video this week taking aim at Labor's cancelled Commonwealth Games. Shot at a swimming pool set to pump up the jam, featuring MPs doing bicep curls and tongue-in-cheek training drills. Daggy, yes. Deliberate, absolutely. By Tuesday afternoon, it had clocked more than 600,000 views and 23,000 likes across her accounts. Let's have a look at what all the fuss is about.
Today would have been the opening ceremony for the Commonwealth Games here in Victoria.
But Labor cancelled the Games, dumping a $600 million weight on all Victorians.
So welcome to the Games that Victoria never hosted.
First event, the running out of money relay.
Almost $600 million for another country to host this event.
And $13 million for machete bins.
$200,000 on pot plants.
The baton doesn't stop.
It gets passed to you, the taxpayer.
Next up, the $15 billion discus.
How far can taxpayer money be thrown into waste and corruption?
In Victoria, it's a record-breaking distance.
High jump, highest taxes and highest debt.
Victoria clears every bar.
Into the hurdles, starting a small business.
Barrier after barrier.
Red tape at every stride.
And now to the mat, where we've got policy backflips.
They promised the toughest bail laws and couldn't even get that right. Now there are loopholes big enough to drive a stolen car through.
Archery next.
Once again, Labor's missed the mark.
Surgery waitlist targets? Missed. Housing targets? Missed.
Cost of living relief? Missed.
Not a single bullseye.
And finally, the debt dive. The budget bombed and sank further into the red. Labor may have cancelled the Commonwealth Games, but they'll never stop playing games with your money. It's time for a fresh start, Victoria.
I really like that. I think it's clever. And seeing those politicians having a bit of fun, look, it is weird seeing the leader of the opposition in her swimming costume. You know, it's like when you see a newsreader, if you've ever seen one down the street and they're in a T-shirt and shorts, you're like, oh, that just doesn't seem right, does it? But it's cut through. I'd rather watch a piss-take video like this than the old stiff and boring, trying to get the message. This gets the message across. The Commonwealth Games was a calamity. But the Premier, Jacinta Allen, well, she has called the whole thing petty politics. But here's the thing. Labor MPs, according to the report, are privately admitting it's cutting through. Wilson is 35. She gets it. She's not asking a bunch of Gen X advisors to guess what young voters want. She is the content. Allen's socials are polished, professional, and about as warm as a press release. When you're chronically unpopular and come across as inauthentic, no amount of production value fixes that. Now, we've seen this before in Victoria, where everyone, the media, and it just seems there's a growing discontent with Labor. But the Libs and the Nats and the coalition have not been able to push through. Can Wilson change this? I don't know. But she's certainly getting the momentum behind her, and she's a breath of fresh air. Labor should be paying attention.
You can show your support for the show by buying me a coffee. Just go to buymeacoffee.com/McKnight Tonight. Every bit helps keep this show from our garage going.
Okay, you can let me know your thoughts at youtube.com/@McKnight Tonight. I've got another batch of feedback just around the corner, so maybe you can let me know what you think of the topics we've covered, or maybe even this one. President Trump is upset with NATO, which has rejected his pleas to join his war against Iran. Early this week, the US president had called on US allies to help secure the Strait of Hormuz, a crucial shipping channel in Iran that transports 20% of the world's fuel. Those allies include Australia. Have a look at this report from NBC News in America.
Today, the president also lashing out at European allies.
We helped with Ukraine.
Yes.
And they don't help with Iran.
Who are declining to help defend the crucial Strait of Hormuz from Iranian attacks on oil tankers.
We don't need too much help, and we don't need any help, actually. You would have thought they would have said, we'd love to send a couple of minesweepers. It's not a big deal. It doesn't cost very much money. But they didn't do that.
The problem for Trump is he keeps insulting everyone, and he didn't get anyone on board when he went into Iran. You know, let's just think about some of the insults. You know, Afghanistan. In late January, Trump said of NATO allies, we've never needed them. They'll say they sent some troops to Afghanistan, all this and that, and they did. They stayed a little back, a little off the front lines. More than 1,000 coalition soldiers died in Afghanistan, according to CNN. Australia played its part. It was an insult. And when it comes to Greenland and Denmark, Trump posted, NATO, tell Denmark to get them out of here now, and falsely claimed Denmark's Arctic forces amounted to 2 dog sleds. He then threatened 25% tariffs on multiple NATO members unless Denmark handed over Greenland. At the moment, that's gone away, but he's now saying he wants Cuba. But this is the kicker, and it comes from a former Estonian president. And I quote, it's a bit rich after you've been threatening Denmark and insulting the memory of around 1,000 NATO troops who fought in Afghanistan to say, oh, you all have to come and help us now. That was the former Estonian president, Toomas Hendrik Ilves. If countries send troops and something happens to them, is he going to make fun of them again? That's the problem. He's insulted people. He said they haven't contributed anyway. He's said multiple times he doesn't need NATO. And then he cries when NATO says, we're not going to help. You can't have it both ways. That's the power of an alliance. And that is the important message. Let me know your thoughts.
The best place to watch McKnight Tonight is on YouTube. Help us monetize the show by going to youtube.com/@McKnight Tonight. And you can always become a paid member. That gives you exclusive live streams and early access to videos. Just go to youtube.com/@McKnight Tonight.
We are almost at our final live show of the week. Tomorrow is a best of. Honestly, please don't think that because I'm not here live that it's not going to be worth watching. I really do think you will enjoy my trips into the archives. You're going to see little videos I made when I was in high school. A much younger Rob, much thinner Rob. And I grew up in Campbelltown in Housing Commission, and I speak very differently to the way I do now. What do you reckons? Yeah, I can't even do it with a voice that I used to do. Oh, it used to be real great. I don't know. Have a look tomorrow anyway, and all through the next week, we'll have some hot topics, some classic rants. Jeanette, I know you love your rants. And, so we'll have a bit of fun, and I'll, when I can, watch a little bit and maybe even throw in a comment. But in the meantime, a toast to a Backend quickie.
It's time for a Backend quickie.
And tonight's Backend quickie comes courtesy of Matthew. He sent this in to us via Instagram, the McKnight Tonight Instagram account. And I've got to say, this speaks to me in so many ways. So many ways. Have a look.
When we last left off, I was fixing what the villain had undone in the Lowe's parking lot. Just because it's a hardware store doesn't mean you need to be a tool. I got a tip from a local youth. You don't want the kids to have to see these things, but when they do, You got to straighten them out. The manhole cover's not the kids. This was a water park just drowning in incongruity. But it had the high ground compared to what I was about to see.
Oh my God. I don't get it.
This simple twist, but gruesome nonetheless. Just chaotic imbalance kicking open the door to our universe. Yang just moving on yin. I hate to know that a local youth even had to see this. But they did. Shout out to Sammy and Elliot for reporting these monstrosities. And then Sarah sent me something. Sweet squirrely chip. It was hard to look at, but if you're going to get the kind of community support I've been getting, you got to offer a quick turnaround time.
That man is my new hero. A cheers to you. It does my head in when I am driving and you see manhole covers put the wrong way and you're just like, couldn't the person doing it just take an extra moment to line it up? It really does my head in. Let's take a look at some feedback coming through to McKnight Tonight. Bruce, hello, Bruce. I don't think we've met before. Welcome to the show. Mate, good show. I think that's last night. Thank you very much, Bruce. Appreciate that. Over the page we go. Andy says, I love the 9 p.m. time slot. It's when I get to watch what I want. Oh, fair enough. Own You're Crazy, 8 p.m. in Queensland. Sorry, Andy, let's go back. If it's because of kids and a partner, maybe at 8 p.m., you take control of the TV and you make them watch McKnight Tonight and convert them over to the show. Maybe that's what you need to do. Because Jeanette says 8 p.m. is better for me. And we've got this one from Matt. That's why I like Rob. He doesn't have the regular opinion. I certainly don't. Clintos is the best host. People can record reality shows, can't record McKnight Tonight. Stay at 8 p.m, Rob. All right, Clintos is the best host. I think 8 p.m. seems to be the go, Amanda. We've got this one from Beck. Politician TikTok is good, but I don't agree with this video. I love seeing a pollies get into TikTok. Yeah, well, I don't mind the message. The Labor government have a lot to answer for. But Gareth says the Victorian Liberal Party is full of social media stunts and virtually no policies. Labor has made mistakes, but they have a vision. Okay. I thought the video about the Commonwealth Games was on the money, but I will be honest, I'm not fully across the policies of the Liberal Party, so that may be a very fair comment, Gareth. Andy says, I feel like a celebrity when Rob reads my comment and tonight's comments. It's like back in the day when you would call a radio station to request a song and hear your name. Well, I'm glad to hear that. That's why we go live, so we can have this interaction, this feedback, and it's just love it. Mum says, hello, Mum. Love the ad. Thank you, Mum. Yes, it was good, wasn't it? Stewie says, what about Tony Abbott and the budgie smugglers? Well, that was never a social media campaign. That was actually the now defunct Wake Up show on Channel 10, and Natasha Belling saw him and just ran up to him with a mic. So that's what happened there. Caught him in his budgie smugglers. Own Your Crazy says, no one complained about the South Australian Premier appearing publicly in his swimwear. In fact, many demanded a calendar. I think you can get away with asking a man for a calendar. Patrice Bennett says, what a great ad. Yeah, I thought so too. Got this one from Gavin, who says, earned media strategy, well done, we'll win gold. Thank you, Gavin. Got this one from Matt. Melbourne is a basket case over the 30 years I have been going there, and I've never been so fearful and unsafe. That's really interesting. Thank you, Matt. Got this one from Beck. I feel like we have the world's biggest 5-year-old running America. That's in regards to Trump and him being very upset with NATO. Did you all get my super there? Not happy NATO. As in not happy Jan. Did anyone get that? Oh, you got it? Good. Okay. Own Your Crazy says, Trump hasn't done anything to help Ukraine. Attacking Iran made everything worse. There are certainly some issues. There is no doubt about that. Got this one from Matt. Never a dull moment with Trump. Hopefully you think there's never a dull moment with Rob as well. Got this one from Gavin. Trump definitely wins with the art of the insult. So true, so true. Well, That brings us to the end of our last live edition of McKnight Tonight. We're in blue, so it must be McKnight Tonight. That brings us to the end of our last live edition of McKnight Tonight for this week and for the following week. But I really do hope you can join us for the best of specials. I'll throw in a few surprises, and I saw someone said that they're looking forward to seeing those videos. So we'll have a lot of fun. You can keep commenting again. I will read them. And we'll see you live again on Wednesday, the 1st of April, for our 24-hour broadcast or streamcast, however you want to say it. But don't forget, there's a new episode of McKnight Tonight, of Media McKnight, Tuesday week. And that's when we'll get back into the swing of things. I'm Rob McKnight. Thank you, everyone. I'd say I'm off to have a break, but I'm driving to Sydney so I can go and do some work. All right, I'll see you in a couple of weeks, in a week and a half. See ya. I don't know what I'm saying.